Hello, everybody. I'm Mike Greenlay. Welcome to Tradition's Going Vertical podcast. As is customary, Erik Hendrikson, president of Tradition Mortgage, is alongside as a co-host. And today, our special guest, Tom Buslee, senior partner and co-founder of Tradition Mortgage. Welcome, gentlemen. Great to get back at the end of the microphone here on our podcast. And this week's topic is actually a very interesting one. It does affect a lot of important people in the state of Minnesota. And Tom Buslee, I'm gonna lean on you to kind of give us all the details of the special relationship that Tradition Mortgage has with Education Minnesota, and I'm sure you can give us all the fun details.
Thanks, Mike. Tradition Mortgage was lucky enough to be introduced to Education Minnesota ESI, which is the provider of the member benefits for Education Minnesota members. Back in 2000. We had just started Tradition in, I want to say early 1999, and we had the good fortune of knowing or having a very close-knit relationship with the owners of Educators Financial Services, which provides the retirement and benefits for the membership. And we were introduced as potentially becoming the mortgage provider. And through a kind of a lengthy process, we were able to become approved. And we've been with them ever since 2000. So, it's I want to say it's the largest membership of any union in the state. And so me personally, I wear it as a feather in my cap. When people ever have a question about tradition and credibility, I'm able to say, well, we're the mortgage lender that is sponsored by Education Minnesota, and if you go to their member benefits page, you'll find us. And it's a real privilege to work with such a prestigious group.
It's hard to believe that it's been well over 20 years since that first meeting with Education Minnesota to be approved as one of the endorsed providers, lending services. For me, with my mom being a teacher growing up, you see the sacrifices and the work and the caring that teachers put into their job, and so for us to be really acknowledged as that source to go to for their home lending services, to me that means a lot. And I think one of the most amazing things is just the job that Tom and his origination group has done to really grow that relationship over the years, because it just doesn't happen just because you're endorsed per se. It doesn't mean that relationship is going to grow and foster. But maybe, Tom, could you talk a little bit about just what you and your group does inside of Tradition Mortgage, what you do for the teachers kind of on an ongoing basis to help kind of build that relationship and provide support services to not just the teachers but all the members of Education Minnesota?
Yeah, absolutely. So every year we have to go before the board, the Education Minnesota board, and become reapproved. And what they do is they re-examine the benefits that we're actually providing. And secondarily, they review our service level. So they review, if clients have an experience they were less than satisfied with, it certainly gets back to the union, which then gets back to us. And we've really had a clean record. And I kind of actually would put that back to the group of people we're dealing with. I mean, what you have is a very motivated group of people that are getting up very early, have a very busy day. A lot of them are experiencing extracurricular activities and have children of their own. So basically they have no time. And they rely upon their union to seek out these business partners that are going to provide them these things, a high level of value and a really good level of service. And so when we go before the board and we're asked questions, we can say, yes, we've served X. And we're talking over the course of 20 years, I mean, we've done well over 10,000 transactions for these teachers, without question. And we've, been lucky to work with them because, truthfully, these are organized people. They are very appreciative of money and savings, and they really are a pleasure to work with because they're generally so organized. And so when you feel appreciated as a mortgage lender, not always the case, by the way, it feels good to provide value and benefit to people that really, really appreciate it. So from this, one more thing I'll just expand on quick. What we do is we say, look, this is the largest union in the state, and we take it to our investors that purchase our loans and service these loans, and we say to them, look, these guys are coming to us and they require value. Otherwise, they're going to go somewhere else. We need to provide them a product that's better than usual. And it's kind of like I would say if you walk into a Costco or a Sam's Club, if you buy something in bulk, if you bring them a large amount of volume, they say, whoa, so you're the endorsed lender for Education Minnesota? So yeah, okay, well, we'll throw in, we'll give you this discount, and will you pass along the volume to us? And then we're able to pass that not only along to the teachers, but also the other people that benefit are the other clients of Tradition, and it's based on the amount of volume that a union of that size can provide.
Quite often, you get a relationship established with a lot of the people in certain, certain markets or certain groups. And I know you and I have, Tom, have talked in the past about the relationships that you end up building through the educators that you deal with. And it's funny because you kind of touched on it just here, and that is educators are an organized group because they have to have everything lined up and set. But how has it been to, in some ways, educate the educators? Because they're people that appreciate information, knowledge. And so as a mortgage professional, you have to obviously know the details of your business that most other people just wouldn't dig into. So how has it been trying to impart the knowledge that you have on people who really do want to listen and understand it?
That's a really good question. I'm glad you asked that, because it's a pleasure. The more that a borrower knows, the better off Tradition will look. We're a group of professionals that service this union for a reason. Education Minnesota, and I won't use names, but gets approached yearly by multiple, not only local, but national mortgage lenders. And their reasoning, if you go to Education Minnesota and ask them, why do they stick with Tradition? It's because we're real people locally servicing their group of members. And we have their best interests in mind. Mm-hmm. And so really, when you look around for mortgages, you're not going to see Tradition you're not going to see rates for Tradition mortgage out on the internet. You're most certainly not going to see them in emails that go out to the membership or on their website. It's basically, let's take a look at this case-by-case situation and figure out what's best for them. We're not just going to randomly throw things out there that are going to look like they're on the cheap, because if they are, you better be the lowest or they're not going to get clicked on. And that's not what it's about. It's really a service. Are we doing a good service for people? And the track record at the end of the year isn't at the number of transactions. It's how many times has somebody come back to the union and said, we really didn't get a good deal. We weren't treated correctly. And it just doesn't happen, because we actually take our time and we care and we do what's best for these members.
And you're also there at the other end of the phone when they call. So which is certainly another important thing.
This relationship, again, is one of Tom's partners. To see how it's grown and really just blossomed over the years is really it's been really gratifying to see. But really, it's just it's a good match, because, like you talked about, teachers, they're very thoughtful, intentional people. They're very inquisitive, and they have expectations of people they do business with to approach it the same way, and you can't really fake that. Mm-hmm. If you're just trying to slam mortgages or any product, that relationship isn't going to last and grow. And that's as founding members of the company, the reason we started Tradition in the first place was to provide a higher level of service to people and a competitive product. We came from large national banks where, you had a product that, you basically just leaned on the reputation of your brand name and people took it. But when working in there that, hey, that isn't the best product in the marketplace,
Yeah.
And I want to be able to go home at night saying, hey, I delivered the best product that I could, and I got to work with the people that I really wanted to work with, and that was the exciting thing about starting your own company, is you get to kind of make a decision on really what areas of business you want to go after. So for me, the teacher union is such a good match, because they're people that really expect and appreciate just true professionals, really people that are coming alongside you and explaining things at a deeper level than maybe you otherwise would see. So again, just the tip of the cap to Tom and his origination group that's really charged with managing this relationship, how it's just been a great fit. Mm-hmm. And again, to see that positive feedback from the members of the union each year, really appreciating what they're bringing every day with every transaction, has really been awesome.
Tom, recently we were talking with some of the I guess I would call them the principals or people that are running Education Minnesota or ESI, and it's funny because they said it struck me as well. To me, it struck me as obvious, but maybe it's not always obvious. But they said, well, if we can trust Tradition Mortgage with my own loans and my mom's loans and my parents' loans and my brother's loans, and then absolutely we want to share that with everybody, everybody that we're servicing. So it's not just, hey, we've got something for you guys and throw it out to them. They believe in it so strongly that they use it themselves, and the one thing that they kind of focused on was trust. And I think in this business that might be one of the top or key words that you'd have to use, because you need to know that someone's going to take care of you in areas that you're not necessarily educated on. And so how big of that it comes into your thoughts when you're dealing with them, or when you have to do, like you said, go back up in front of the board and tell them you can trust us, because that's not always, there's a lot of companies that probably can't realistically say that.
Yeah, I mean, how many times have you gone out there in your world as a consumer not knowing where you're headed? Let's say you're going to go lease versus buy a car, or if you're going to finish your basement, or if you're going to try to put in irrigation in your yard or something that's just a little foreign to you, right? And you finally get a hold of that person that's talking your language at your level. I mean, how good does that feel? You know when you can make that connection, right? Yep. And when I call a bigger company and I get, press a button and they keep kind of jamming you through to get you to a website or to an automated response, it's such a put off. I mean, especially when it comes to mortgages, it is more complicated than ever. You hear the terms easy button, you hear the term rocket mortgage, and I think that's a huge disservice. And that's not what teachers need. They need someone to talk to them on their level and get them the information they need. And like I said before, the more they know, the better off that we will be, the better off we will look. And, the teachers union is a loyal group. A union that's not an accidental word. That's what they are, and they talk. They work together all day long, and they conglomerate over all these different issues. And guess what? When somebody's had a good experience, it flows through word of mouth. And when you ask us, like, what's your best source to reach out to these people? Yes, we get to 20 or 30 events, the new teacher events. We certainly get them our information through the union. We're on the website. We go to their River Center conference over the MEA weekend in October, and we try to have our presence out there. But the main thing we do is treat people really, really well, make sure their transactions go well, and if they don't need a transaction, give them that good advice. Mm-hmm. If somebody calls us to refinance, sometimes we tell them, no, you shouldn't. And that's the best advice you can do. And then you know what that does? That filters through the schools, that filters through their community.
Yeah, we're not just selling you something because we want to sell something. We want to make sure that you're buying something that you actually need. And that's the trust factor that I'm talking about.
And when you tell them that they don't really need it, they're good where they are, that just breeds trust. And it actually feels really good to do that. Mm-hmm. It does.
One thing I wanted to talk about that I think is really a neat annual event that we do is the Teacher Scholarship Program. And I know it's probably been 15 years that it's been going on, but I think it's important. One of the core tenets of tradition is to give back, to pay it forward, and continue to support the community that have been so great in giving us business as well too. And one of the really neat things that Tom and his group does every year is they actually endow a annual scholarship to a teacher seeking a higher education program. And again, that's just to me that kind of shows what we're all about. It's not just, hey, with our hand out, hey, give us business, but we're gonna reinvest in these teachers as well. And certainly on a global scale, Tradition companies and Tradition Mortgage, we reinvest back into the community. It's a big part of what we do. But I think this specific teacher scholarship is one really amazing thing that just truly highlights our dedication to teachers. Maybe Tom, if you want to talk a little bit about the background on that and how you go about kind of the process each year.
Yeah, sure. Speaking of that, Tradition does have a good portion of its profits and its time and energies put forth giving back into the community. And the relationship with Education Minnesota is such an important one and such a large one, and one we're so proud of. We went to the Education Minnesota leadership and said, if we were to allocate money, what would be a good resource for that? Mm-hmm. And they brought us toward this scholarship, as they call it, for teachers seeking continuing education to advance their careers. And so we put forth, I think it's a $5,000 grant every year that they put towards various different scholarships. I think it's 2 to 5, depending on the cost or the size of them, I guess. And they're going to continue this, and it's a really good thing. They're really happy with us for having that initiative to give back.
Tom, I know that as the union grows and as more and more people look to get into the housing market or try to find the type of places that they want to grow with, your team has to have gotten bigger. I mean, I know that you always have a group of people that you can help lean on because you want to be able to service your clients. Well, your team's gotten bigger because of that, because now there are more and more teachers that are reaching out. So tell us a little bit about your team and how important it is to have that resource for when there's just a large group of people asking questions.
Yeah, I think the union's it's either at 80 or over 80,000 people. And when you talk about technology and the ability to communicate out there and to obtain information online, which is kind of the way of the world now. I don't know if that's good or bad, but you can just do so much more as far as researching online. And so we want to be personal. We don't want to hit a button, kind of submit your information and a computer will get back to you. We want to have live people answering your first call. Mm-hmm. And asking questions and understanding your story. We need to understand a story to provide you good advice. And the only way to do that is to listen. And the only way to do that is expand our staff. And we've tripled it over the last 2 years, partially due to interest rates, partially due to a very, very hot housing market, but partially because we just love doing this business. It's been good to us, and we're being good back to it, and we are going to continue to provide all the support needed to have human beings answering the phone, listening to your story, and providing you with the best possible advice from your home financing that we can.
Well, I know that the more you do something, the better you get at it, and you guys have been servicing Education Minnesota for so long that you guys understand the nuances that are required to deal with people who are educated themselves, and they want knowledge and they want service and they want to get better at whatever it is. So I guess we could say keep up the good work. It's certainly something that's necessary with, as you said, over 80,000 members.
Yeah, and tip of the cap. I mean, this last 2 years has been just absolutely insane for everybody. But think about being a teacher. Think about what they've been faced with. Think about the members of Education Minnesota and what they've been put through. I mean, just time out and forget the mortgage stuff. I mean, just thanks for what you've done. A lot of people in different areas of our community have really stepped up, and that's been, one of the biggest. So thank you very much, and we're super proud to serve you guys.
And thank you, Erik, for joining me once again as my host. And Tom, always a pleasure to sit down and talk with you, and especially when it's over such an important subject matter as Education Minnesota.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks.